Welcome to the Inside Scoop, a podcast about self improvement and knowledge seeking. Our aim is to explore a diverse range of topics and perform self checks on whether we're being the best versions of ourselves every week. I'm your host, Marius Urbelis. Let's get started. And so this time I'm here with my co host, Oscar. Hi there.
Hi there.
And we are joined by Angela. Hi. So, Angela is a co founder of a company called. Do you want to just introduce it so that probably you know it better?
For sure. So this summer, just my teammates and I, we were in a startup incubator at our school, and we're starting a company called Wealth by 30 to try and help young adults like put a financial plan in place and then to help build their wealth and stuff. So we're in the early stages. We're trying to get this off the ground and running, and we're busy building our product. But in the meantime, we've started a podcast, just interviewing people around our age, so like in their early 20s, mid 20s, who have done really cool things, like someone who bought a condo in Toronto at 24 with just his own savings, which is really cool. But we're just trying to like inspire people to think about their future and help them with their finances, because like everyone has to manage money and sometimes it's not the most interesting, but we're hoping to make it a little bit more fun. Anyway, that's what Wealth by 30 is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very important topic, like personal finance. As much as it's nice how you mention it, that it's kind of boring, because like it may seem like it, but then it's really important. And in my opinion, if you start off correctly, like I don't think I've had the best teachings from my parents, how to handle money and everything. But like, I think it's very important to start off when you're a young child and then just already like start dealing with money so that you would know how to handle it. And why 30 though?
I think it gives you like a tangible goal to work towards. Like it's never too late or too early to start thinking about it, but it's like if you think 30, it's like you have a goal. Like by 30, I want to have this, this, and this. So it's something that you can work towards rather than just a very broad goal. Like I just want to save money. It's a little bit more difficult. That's kind of how we came up with our name.
So I actually heard somebody on Joe Rogan's podcast, something Green, I can't remember his first name, so Robert Greene, talk about advice for young people, and it was to not worry about money in their 20s and experience life, and then worry about, learn not just experience and have fun, but learn stuff in their 20s, and then saying that money will come naturally when you're in your 30s, and then you can do all the boring stuff. How do you feel
Really?
about that?
That's really interesting. Who was the interviewer or the interviewee?
It was Robert Greene. He's authored a few best-selling books on various topics on mastery. There's a book called 48, I think, 48 Laws of Power. So the 48 Laws of Power is basically about analyzing kind of the power games that people play and trying to show you them and trying to show you how you can identify them and how you can use them to your advantage. And then the mastery is about, mastery. So he's written a good few books. But yeah, how do you feel about what he said there? About
money will come and you just gotta wait for
I
it.
don't think he's trying to imply that it will just come, but he's saying that you want to spend your 20s not worrying about money too much and instead focusing on learning. They don't exclude each other. So you can have, you can be good with money and learn, but not be obsessive maybe about.
What I think he might mean is that you may do something that you like over the 20s, and then like if you continually persist doing your hobby or something that you're very passionate about, maybe money is coming from that. Like, I don't know.
I'm not sure that's what it means, but yeah. And I think, I don't know. I can personally relate to that because I don't particularly worry about money right now. Like it is, I have it fortunately, but I'm not focusing on money too much. I'm just focusing on my education right now, And then I believe that through what I learn in my 20s, later I'm going to be able to apply that and make money. I'm not particularly excited by money either, but that's just me. Not just me, but that's me personally. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about balance, right? Like what your values are. Definitely. I think if you want something, you can't just sit around and wait for it to happen. Like you need to go pursue it or like work towards it. Yeah, like I do agree that like your 20s and 30s or whenever is always a good time to learn. Like you should always think about what you want to achieve and like what you want to do and go pursue that. But it's always good to, I guess, have a manage on your finances. That's kind of what I believe.
So
'Cause
I
I-
guess, sorry. Go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I guess how I would apply this to myself, for example, is I have this thing where I put health before money. So like I will spend more money on, making sure I get the right nutrition instead of trying to save, a few pennies on the food that I'm buying, for example. Or so maybe that's one way in which I'm not trying to save money. Instead, I'm focusing on another aspect of my life.
I think that's super important. Like your health is, if you don't have good health, it's really hard to do other stuff. So that's definitely something you should prioritize. Like this is personal opinion, obviously. But I mean, if you're making, I guess, like a significant amount or just some amount, and it's like it's like what you're spending, going out and stuff, like it needs to be balanced. I think what we mean is like, yeah, you should spend money on like making sure you get all the right nutrients and the right foods and stuff. Don't go out every other day and like blow all your money. Like go out, have fun, but also think about putting some of it away.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine like starting actually like putting money away when you're 20 and start working somewhere. Just start putting that in an index fund or something. And imagine taking money out after like 20 years or so.
I think that actually reminds me exactly of what he meant. I think what he meant is you don't want to work for the sake of putting away money in your 20s instead of focus. If maybe it's some kind of work that isn't paying the most money, but it's something that develops you as a person. So you shouldn't just go after the money, I think is what he was saying. So you shouldn't sacrifice your personal development for, a higher paycheck, I think was what he was saying essentially.
Is that like a more scientific way of saying YOLO?
Well, personal development instead in terms of investing in your future as well in a different way in terms of your learning. Because if you go and do a PhD and you get some funding, it's not going to be, make sure that the PhD is legit. It's not just the title that you get, but what you're researching is going to help you in the future, is going to develop you and your career. But at the same time, like PhD, whatever funding that you get, whatever financial support that you get, isn't going to be maybe as great as something else. I don't know, but that's, I guess, just talking about what is everybody's idea of wealth in this case.
For sure, and like that's different for everyone. Like what success means, right? You could go on a whole tangent about that. But yeah, working just for the sake of money or making money to make more money, love, but
I mean, I think PhD. Eventually people reach that. I think if they, like, I mean, right. So people say there's the stairs or whatever in a company. Like you got to climb the stairs, you got to climb the ranks, and like, well, I mean, I'm just talking about the traditional model. If you come into a company, you start off with like a basic salary, and then you climb the steps, and like you become like a better, I don't know, if you start managing people. So I was always thinking like, what's at the very top, right? Like there can be anyone higher than a CEO, right? But actually there's the investors, there's the people who actually detach themselves from like the daily grind of the company altogether, and what they do is they just own the company or like invest, and like all they do on their daily is just, trade and look for invest for like companies to invest in and stuff. um but I think some people might like that, some might not. Like, I don't know if I really want to like be in a place where all I do is just like invest in companies. As much as that sounds nice because it means you can invest, which means, you have enough money to sustain yourself and then even be able to invest in companies. But I don't know. I think I would just miss the grind or something. What you guys
I
think about
mean,
it?
I think that's a grind in itself. But go on, Angela.
I think that whenever you're working, you need to figure out why you're working, like what you're working for, right? Like the process, the journey is like half the process or something like that. I forget the saying. If you enjoy climbing the corporate ladder, and like you enjoy your work, it's like that's kind of like the destination in itself. It's like if you enjoy what you do, you're not just climbing for the sake of climbing. But Oscar.
No, I was just had that little thing to say there. But yeah, if you find fulfillment in climbing the corporate ladder, then go for it, right?
But it's definitely not for everyone, which is why there's a lot of jobs that exist out there.
Yeah, when do you guys think the actual like age of when you really have to start thinking about money starts? 'Cause I think you first have to have like an actual full-time job, right? In order to like start managing up. Because I mean, I even looked into credit cards and everything, like, but still, I'm so young and like I don't have a full-time income, so they just looked at it and said like, but you don't have a stable income. How do we know about anything about you, right? When do you think a person should start caring about this like more than they should in their like 20, 21 and all that?
Today is my answer.
Today. Yeah.
I don't think it's ever too early to start caring, right? Like maybe you don't have income to put away now, but you should, know the basics of like, okay, where you want to be and like how you'll get there so that you can kind of plan for that, right? You don't want to say like be 30 and try and get a mortgage for a house and realize then that's like, oh shoot, I don't have enough credit to get that mortgage, for example, because it takes time to build that credit. Like this is more like in North America or like in Canada specifically. But you want to be proactive about it, right? It's like never is too early kind of just to start thinking about it. And just because you don't have a full-time income, like that doesn't mean you can't put money away. Like, it depends on what your situation is. It's very different for everyone.
Hmm.
But just like putting away, let's just say like $10 a month goes a long way.
Oh yeah, that
That's
already
just
Feasible.
totals up to like quite a lot if you do it for 10 years, I think, for sure. And I mean, even
How
during
feasible?
those 10 years, you just starts growing because like you don't just put away $10 every month. You start earning more, and like maybe your income and your salary gets higher, so you can even save up more. And yeah, I think you wanted to say something, Oscar. No?
Yeah, I was going to ask how feasible do you think it is to, instead of thinking about your credit score, or for how many people it's feasible to save up money from just working, to have enough money to, so like buy a property, buy a house instead of taking a mortgage.
Um, I think it really depends on your financial, like your situation. Like some people have more bills than is right. Like some people from like when they leave high school, they have to pay for school, for their rent, for their food, and all their basic necessities. Whereas like others, they don't really have to as much. So it depends on like where you are and like how much you're making, and maybe like your part-time job during school like covers your basic living needs, and like you don't have anything left over, and like that's one situation. But like if you do have something left over, like maybe plan that out a bit, like leave some money for fun, like to go out to hang out with friends and stuff, and then put some away into savings. And in terms of like saving up for a property, it like depends. Sorry, I know I'm saying like it depends a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
depends on where you're looking. And I think just the most important part is like just doing your research and just learning a bit about it, like here and there. Um, just planning for that. Like obviously I can't give any advice. Like I'm not a financial advisor. Like you should go speak to a professional, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just like never too early to start just like thinking about it, looking into it, and yeah, saving little bits here and there because you'd be surprised how much you'd have.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true, I think. So I think another question that stems from this all was the difference between like how Eastern Europe, for example, and the way you mentioned about like the situation, U.S. and Canada being with the mortgages, and uh, I think we're spotting the differences between the places, right? Like you guys have credit cards and mortgages and all that, correct?
The systems are definitely really different, is what I've come to learn.
Yeah, and like and around here, I think people are starting. They're like they're starting to get these. Although still, like if you want to go and put some money away in a bank, uh, how's that thing called when you put money in the bank and you technically give your money away for the bank to, and like afterwards you get some interest from it.
Mm-hmm.
Investing?
Yeah, it's like, well, anyway, like some sort of an investments account or whatever. So like you pretty much put money away, and like we've even had, I think our banks only offer 0.02% of interest or something stupid like that.
Yeah, like saving, like yeah, savings accounts.
Yeah, there's something like
Get
very very
it.
low, and like uh I'm talking about the Lithuania situation, for example. Then I saw that in the UK, for example, Barclays Bank has, I think, 2% of that. And like, I was just thinking, wow, maybe that's why people around here don't really put money away like that, because it's just not feasible. Like, what is it, 0.02%? Like, when are you ever, when are you ever going to save up from, investing or like putting money in? Like, just doesn't make sense. And yeah, so I think the way that I was brought up was they were always telling me, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. Um, as opposed to like the things that I'm noticing from the United States and like Canada, people like yourself, Angela, when you say, well, mortgage is another term that I just learned recently, which means that you can, what is it? You pretty much borrow money from the bank for your house, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, and then you kind of like pay that back in certain, I guess, installments, and then like it's as if you were renting the place, but at the end of it all, you have the place because you you borrowed the place from the bank or something. And I don't know, it's
There's a
interesting.
thing here in the UK that's actually pretty good. That I think it's maybe ended now. Maybe there's something new going to be in place. I think it's like um, for every, I think, £4 that you put down towards savings towards buying a house in the future or getting a mortgage in the future, uh, the government will put down £1 for you, which is pretty good. So that's,
What?
yeah. And I don't think, I think it's getting replaced with something else maybe, but it's for like banks, I think. There's this thing my sister told me about. She was like, this thing is like ending, like sign up for this now.
Dude,
And I
that's
was like,
huge.
that is huge. Yeah.
£4 is one thing. Imagine putting down £4,000.
Yeah, there's some limit to that per month, I think. But
It's huge.
Yeah. It is, yeah. But it's, I mean, it's an incentivizes, I guess, people to save. So, yeah.
Um, back to
But
the mortgage thing, right? Like it is you are taking out money and I guess like spending more than you have, but like your property, right, can appreciate, depends on like what market you are in. Like in Toronto, the house prices are going up, up and up. So yeah, you're borrowing money and paying it off in installments, but at the end, right, like the value of your house has gone up so much that you're making like you're almost making money if you sold the house. Makes any sense?
Yeah, it's like trading stocks with leverage. You guys heard of it? No?
about stocks.
Yeah, trading stocks with leverage. Have you heard of this concept?
Explain it to me. I'm not too familiar with.
Right. So pretty much what you do is like you can buy a stock and like spend €1, $1, £1, whatever. You spend one currency, like $1, let's say, right? So you spend $1, but because you have 100 times leverage, you pretty much have just bought stocks for $100 with the company that you're trading with. So it's like you've just technically gained more than you actually have. And so if your stock went up from $1 to $2, now because you have bought 100 of them, even though you only paid like $1, you're gaining way more because you're just kind of using the leverage that the company's providing. So I mean, but on the other hand, if the stock goes down, then you're losing way more than you ever had because you only put down $1, but because the price, for example, dropped to like 0 or something, then you pretty much lost 100 and you have to pay back. So I mean, I think I'm just randomly explaining the concept wrong, but anyway, so it's like you're getting the mortgage on a house for like 100,000 or something, for example, and then your house value went up to like 120, and if you sell for 120, and obviously you have to give back the 100, you pretty much just gained 20K from like pretty much nowhere, which kind of makes sense. But like, what happens if it goes down in price? Like, you still have to pay out the full 100K, but then you're at the end of it all, you're left with was like a $20,000 deficit, right? Like when you paid it off. I mean,
There's some horror stories.
yeah, but like, yeah, I know, right? It's so weird. It's like a gamble, but like if you know that the real estate in a certain area is going up, why not, right?
Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about investing in real estate, to be honest. Because, like, to me, like, whole investing thing, it's like people want to invest in houses and then you get housing bubbles and stuff. It's like, for me, a house is just a place that you buy and you live in, and like once you have a house, you shouldn't really worry about its value. That's how it is for me, because you have a roof over your head essentially. So I don't really like the whole idea of investing in housing.
Yeah, but see, there's
I don't know.
another way
How you
of
guys feel
investing
about that?
into a house. Like even when I was in the States, our neighbor has literally had like four people, four different students living in his house. He himself lived somewhere in New York. He just literally bought this place in Raleigh just for, well, I don't want to say dirt cheap, but like in comparison to what he's probably making out there in New York, he got it for cheap and then he was renting it out. So, assuming he got a mortgage on the house and then he got tenants living in, paying out the mortgage, he just got a free deal on a house. That kind of sounds cool. I think that's where the investment part comes from. Like Robert Kiyosaki says, right? It's like buy a house with a few units and then like rent them out, and then like if you got a mortgage on the place, then all your tenants are pretty much paying off the mortgage for you. I mean, again, I'm completely totally not into money, so I don't know shit about it all. But still, this sounds logical, at least from this, like, just logically thinking about it, right? Do you,
Like that's a huge opportunity for like real estate investment is like renting out your property. You are gaining income from it, and then like if you sold the house later on and appreciated, like you would gain a bit more. But there's also risk, obviously. Is like what if you can't find a tenant or like all the fees that come into like maintaining the property.
oh yeah, right. What if like stuff breaks and then yeah. I mean, it's a high risk, high reward thing, I guess, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, and you guys like have you guys haven't thought much about do I guess real estate, but like do you guys have a system for how you manage your money or
Yeah, Marius.
Me? Sure. I mean, I'm just happy trying to get whatever job I can get to just try and like not take money from my parents. that's the that's the main system right now is to just try and work. And then if I work and then I just I don't know, put them all. I mean, I'm so my parents usually pay for the rent. Like they say, oh, we're gonna pay for the rent, blah blah. So I try to like put all of the other money away into like gear and tech, I guess. Because I bought a laptop, I bought a microphone, I bought keyboard. Like I really don't like spending money out. Like because you go outside, you do some sort of an activity, and you just well, you didn't waste the money because you got the activity thing happened, but like I'd much rather just invest. Well, I don't want to say invest because it's just buy tech or gear or stuff that I'm going to be using. So like
Yeah.
I'm buying stuff that I'm using, but it's not really an investment because I'm not sure if you're just able to sell it off. But yeah, my plan is to just make, because right now I don't, especially now with COVID, really don't have a job anymore. Just some live streaming stuff and hopefully if the football season starts, I'll have a more of a job out there to like live stream football games. And but still, it's like once I'll get a full-time job, I think then I am supposed to like start really thinking about the. Do you agree, Angela? Well, like when a person like gets their full-time job as opposed to just like some random little part-times here and there, or like even with a part-time you have to manage money, right?
um definitely when you start like working full time, you have a lot more income to work with. Like you might have more wiggle room. Yeah, it depends on if you move out or you stay like you live with your parents after you graduate. But yeah, just like if you even if you have a part-time income, like if you have little bits to spare here and there, if you put it away and like invest it or like whatnot, like it'll grow. And I just think of it more as like just think it might seem like you're just saving for the sake of saving, but like I think of it as like saving for a bigger opportunity at a later time. So maybe like today getting two drinks, getting instead of getting two drinks instead as opposed to one, or like buying this thing today that I really want. Like if I just put that money away, maybe I'll be able to use that money for like a trip to Europe or something bigger. Any sense? Or like if an opportunity arises later on that I really want to do, like I will have that money to go do it.
Yeah, because you pretty much
That's kind of
never
how I think.
never know when stuff can
You're
just happen, right?
it's like, would you rather have like three drinks today, well, over like several periods of time, or what, buy this like top today, or like buy these things, go to Starbucks today, and like have all these things, or do you want to save that money for a trip somewhere, or maybe you want to buy like a larger thing later on that you really want, and like there it's just kind of like where your values are. Like maybe you like the small things, so maybe it's worth it to spend that like extra money when you're going out or whatnot. But then maybe, it's more worth it to save it for traveling or for me,
Yeah,
I love
maybe people
traveling.
are
So
getting
for me,
enjoyment from it, you know. Some people might just really like it, I guess, and that's their stuff. Because I remember um, I was going out to like eat, just grab a pizza with a friend, and I was just looking for like a cheaper option or whatever, and she's just like, "Nah, just dude, I spent the whole summer working. I really don't care about like, because this is what I was working for," and that's when she said like these things are like go out to just like eat a pizza or something. This is what she was working for. On the other hand, like me, I always think about tech. I'm just like, no, I really don't want to go out and like pay like $6 for a cup of Starbucks coffee or something like that, which is for me just seems outrageous and crazy. Like, no, even takeout. My flatmate used to get a lot of takeout and delivered food, uh, and I think the only time I agreed to actually like get delivered food with him was when we actually like finished the whole year of studies. I was like, okay, dude, our last exam is today. This is the first time I'm taking like food with you because otherwise, I mean, if you can cook at home, just do it, right? Just cook at home, make coffee at home, and then you're gonna be able to save those little things, uh, little cash here and there, and then purchase. Because I mean, I think my last purchase was a keyboard. I think and I was like, oh hell yeah, I can just purchase a keyboard, and now I can use it for like a few years now, probably. So I don't know.
yeah, definitely. The small things accumulate, but it's also like where your values
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah, some people might enjoy it. How about yourself, Oscar? Do you have stuff to add?
Oh boy. Well, I'm terrible with money because I could be living with my parents right now. They would be totally fine with it. Um, and I probably wouldn't be paying money for food and electricity bills. But instead, what happened is when I first went to university, I was still living with my parents then for the first year. But I kind of had a discussion with them because I originally didn't want to go to university. I just wanted to go to work straight away with my dad, who's a tiler. Um, so I wanted to do menial labor. But I was like, well, if I'm going to university, I'm just going to focus on getting my degree and getting, learn my education and stuff. So I'm not going to look for a job. And I'm just going to sustain myself with the student loan and whatever. But so my parents, I'm living away from my parents now. I'm living with one flatmate, and my parents are paying my rent. So collaterally, I'm kind of taking money out of their pocket as well when I could be living with them. Um, and then I'm spending my own money, my loan essentially, my student loan on food and electricity bills. So I could save quite a lot of money if I just lived with my parents. But I chose to live away from my parents to kind of, it felt like becoming more independent. So I valued that a lot more than, I didn't actually realize how much money I would be saving if I lived with my parents when I first decided to move out. But I at the time I valued becoming more independent, more like doing my own shopping and cooking and just living by myself away from my parents. I felt that was good, and I still would have made the same decision if I went back, and I could still move in with my parents and save some money, probably quite a lot of money. But I'm not struggling for money either right now. But
And like,
obviously,
oh,
yeah.
go ahead. Sorry. No,
But
just
obviously, I'm terrible with money.
no, but I mean, like, learning to be independent is super important too, right? Maybe it's worth that amount of money
Maybe, yeah.
and to just be self-sufficient and take care of yourself. So
Yep.
it goes back to what like Green said, right? Like personal development.
Mm.
Not everything's about money, right?
Yeah, at the end of
But
the
I'm
day,
just completely like a strange person. Like I think a few months back, I really care about money very little. Like I think a few months back, I was talking to you guys on a podcast to Marius, and I think Ian was there as well. So one time we had Ian on, and I was like, I'd be totally happy if the only thing I'd be happy living homeless if I could just use the library, the public library. So yeah, I don't really care about personal possessions and money at all, but it makes it a lot easier to pursue what I want to do if I can also have the money. So
for sure.
It's finding a balance right now.
For sure. Again, as I say, the only people used to use this quote. I have no idea where it came from, but like it just sounds logical, right? They say in life you're gonna have money. Like if you're whatever your current situation is, you're still gonna earn money, and it doesn't matter how much. Like you're still gonna earn it. The only thing you're not gonna get back is time. So it's like, I think I told this to myself when I sort of like made a poor purchase of like, I bought a moped, and it was kind of an uninformed choice, and then it broke down on me, and I was like, I should have probably went to the mechanic first of all and talked to what he could offer and stuff. But then he also comforted me saying, oh, don't worry, there's people who are losing 20x the amount that you just, like, it's fine, like, you don't worry, like, you're eventually gonna make it back, and this is just a lesson, to like always check with, like, anyway, it's just a tangent, but you know what I mean, like, we're gonna have money. But so what do you guys think success is for y'all? Like, what do you think personally, success, wealth?
To go first?
Yeah, you can go first, Angela. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first. I think success in general is very different for everyone. Everyone has a different goal of where they want to be. For me, I think I'd like to make a change in the world. Sounds cheesy, I know. I love like entrepreneurship. It's something that I started getting involved with like this summer, but just solving some of the problems in like society and the world, and seeing how I can leverage my position, my skills, and like what I have to be able to solve some of the problems. So like right now, what we're solving is like the lack of like financial literacy for young adults. And it's not anyone like we're not taught it in school, right? And not all of our parents are able to teach us. So kind of like trying to fill the gap of being able to teach everyone about money so they can like manage and like do what they want to do. But sustainability is also something that I care a lot about. So I think in the future I might want to do something with energy or sustainable tech. But anyway, that was a bit of a tangent. But yeah, success, like career wise, is like being able to solve some of the big problems in the world, but also having like my personal life and just enjoying it with like friends, family. I really love the outdoors, so having time to paddle and surf and anyway, kind of went on a tangent.
Yeah, that sounds like a very balanced idea of, well, work-life balance. What we intended to talk about, but
yeah, but then we went on a tangent about money.
Personal finance is important. I think
stuff.
it's good. Wow, like, it's pretty much saving the world, right?
If I get there, those are my big dreams, dreams and goals.
it's really cool. Sustainability, especially.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
if
the future as well.
imagine your goal being like, I don't know, visit Paris or something, right? And then you go to Paris and like when you're 22 or something, then you just sit there like, okay, that's it. I mean, what do I do in life right now, right? So like you for sure have to have some like some bigger goals, I guess. I mean, not everyone though. So I guess I commend you for this. Like, not everyone is thinking about others and maybe the sustainability of the earth and everything. Like, maybe some people don't even think about stuff like this, right?
I mean, you need different types of people to make the world go around, right?
Hmm.
So I see myself as someone like I have all these big ideas all the time. None of them you get done. But like sustainability and like with in particular with energy, it's something we use so much, but like we're not consuming it in like, a fully like it's in a responsible way. Like we'll run out of fossil fuels and stuff like that. So if we can find a more sustainable way of using electricity and like energy, like and a way to produce it, like that'd be fantastic. I know there's a company called what's it called again? Nuclear fusion. Anyway, they've developed this process where they use like fusion to create like energy. That's like the same process that happens in the sun. So it's like just high pressure. Um, Turning this explanation up totally, but they're trying to make it like economically viable right now. So like something that you like is like sustainable like wise, like economically. So that's like something that's really cool that I think is but something like that, right? What's the question?
Yeah. So have you heard of the civilization tiers? I think that's how they called.
Oh, do you want to briefly talk about it?
It's like so someone has found a, again, I can't quote like who the scientists are and everything. Uh, on like it's more talking about the life in space and just in general. Like someone was like, okay, so we need to like categorize civilizations by a certain amount, a certain thing, a certain metric common that would be across the universe, assuming, because if the universe is infinite, then obviously there's life out there. So like assuming like everyone, well, we need to have a common ground, right? So they thought of this thing of like energy use. So like because everyone out there is still gonna have to have and harvest some sort of an energy from somewhere. So pretty much, I think the tier one civilization is when you're using only your planet's energy that you find in like fossil fuels, blah blah. Tier two is when you're able to use your system star. It's like I think the solar system because like we have the sun, right? So, but anyway, this whole tangent is to say that if we were ever to actually leave our planet, and I think that that's quite an interesting jump from like personal finance to like leaving our planet, right? But like we need to harvest our sun somehow. So they were thinking of these like loads of reflectors flying around the sun, and then you're able to like direct the sun's energy. So I mean, I hope that eventually we're gonna have this where we're just gonna be able to reflect the sun's energy back to Earth, and like we don't have to dig any fossil fuels or anything. But yeah, it's quite a tangent, but I think that was a neat thing when I learned about this. I was like, wow, that sounds logical and interesting. Like what was?
I'm looking at you, Musk.
Yeah,
Elon
oh
Musk.
yeah, that guy. I mean, first of all, he started putting what is the Starlink satellites up there, right? The internet ones, and then as and then physicists and then astronomers started saying that this might interfere with actual space exploration because there's literally like 500 or 600 of them flying around the Earth, and like if you're looking at something through a telescope,
Hmm.
they're interfering and stuff. But yeah, anyway.
So it's like social media for the whole planet. You can't speak with anybody outside it. You're just focused on. It was a bad analogy.
No, I mean, but
It's like we're all in our phones, and then we forget to speak to others around us.
oh yeah, and they
And
want to deploy this across the whole globe. So now that everyone's in their phones, I don't know, dude.
Can't speak to the aliens.
I don't know what's happening. I think we were gonna have an episode on people being confused and like just in general, the general confusion of.
Confused.
Sorry,
People being confused.
being confused.
That's the topic.
Yeah, the friggin' whole episode on just the topic being confused, because like, again, like we just randomly jumped from personal finance onto like how to harvest the energy of our sun and leave our planet. So I mean, I think. Do you guys have any more topics that we could relate to personal finance, and or should we start slowly wrapping up?
I think I've said everything that that has come to mind for me. Our listeners find this helpful.
Don't burn fossils, just harvest the sun, guys. I don't know. Oscar, any closing words, closing remarks?
Can't personally think of anything right now. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe
Guess we
not
should
of what we
wrap
wanted to
it up.
cover, but we cover some important stuff, so it's cool.
Definitely, money's like pretty hard to talk about. I think it's a pretty like taboo topic, but it's like just so important that you kind
People
of just
don't
have a
want to think
grasp
about
of.
it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's tough, and like you're not taught it, so how are you supposed to?
Yeah, that's actually
Have
true. Like
grasp it?
who's ever teaching us this, right? Like in school, I don't think anyone teaches that in school.
I
Here's
don't
the
know about
thing.
you guys, but over here, I don't think they really teach in school, or like a very limited amount. And then like, so your parents have to teach to you, or like your friends or family. But sometimes like not everyone is able to teach it to their kids. Yeah, where were you supposed to learn it? I don't know.
Tough. Well, does it really pay the people to teach you how to manage money? Is it worth it for them for the general population to have a good idea of how to manage money? Maybe not.
Whoa, dude.
Because
That's
well, I
you're
think
right.
banks also profit from your like negligence or just your lack of knowledge, right? Like when you, I guess, if you have a credit card and you don't pay the full amount off that month, interest accrues on like what you haven't paid off. So you end up paying more than you initially like needed to pay off. So like they make money off of that, right?
Yeah.
They make money off of you not knowing that you need to pay off the whole thing to not have interest added.
So it's really good that we have people like you teaching people about money. So we need
Raising awareness. I don't know.
to
I mean,
balance it out a little bit.
technically, right? So with the situation that you mentioned, Angela, about the interest, I've heard that there are people in the States particularly which are working uh, working just to pay off the interest that is accumulating every month. They aren't even able to start paying off the actual debt, but they're only paying out the interest that accumulates every month. It's like, imagine being stuck in such a hamster wheel. Holy, sounds scary.
It really adds up. So
Yeah, I mean, safest, again, coming from the old Eastern Europe here, safest bet is to just, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. But like, it's hard to actually achieve something unless you really have like a good salary and then you're able to save. Otherwise, without any mortgages or anything, you don't really have much of a buying power, I guess.
I guess like if you're gonna take on debt, just like make sure you know what you're doing. You have a plan to get out of it, right? Debt is bad. like mortgages, but like just as long as you know what you're doing and how you're gonna get out of it, I think. Um, you said some things like it'll take forever to save up for. So for example, like right now, the average price of a thatched house in Toronto is like over $1 million. If you were to just save your income, like to save up $1 million would just take so long. So that's why you kind of need to like take out a mortgage.
Yeah, that's
Crazy.
scary unless you just start off some sort of a company and you get very successful and all that. But still, I didn't know that like even for a company, then you have to actually get a loan to run the company. Because still, how are you going to be able to pay it off of your pocket, right? Like assuming that company isn't just like manufacturing some art stuff. You like if you're a painter, an artist, you just paint and then sell. Anything else really requires investments and then mortgages, loans and all that, I guess. So can't we really
I
escape the
mean,
loans? Wow, they're just everywhere.
So do you think there is a housing bubble happening in Toronto right now, or?
yeah, I think there's like a bit of a bubble. Vancouver's even worse. I don't know the exact amount, but prices in Vancouver really high. But yeah, for companies, I think it depends on what you're starting. But there's different ways of funding it. That's a whole thing about entrepreneurship. That could be another topic. Yeah, you can fund it with like debt, so like taking out loans and stuff, or like um, investors can invest money into your company for like a piece of the company, so it's like equity. Yeah, I won't get into that today.
Yeah, just get a Kickstarter campaign started and see if there's people who want to support you.
That's like a new way to raise money now.
It's like
Your
the crowdfunding
venture.
thing.
Exactly. Really cool, right? Like you don't need to be an angel investor or anything to it's like invest in companies that way.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Like, and I've heard quite a few companies have actually gotten successful after their Kickstarter campaigns, because otherwise they would go around and try to like pitch to people, and then they would just be unsuccessful because their product is kind of, I don't know, for example, some technology thing that's a very niche thing. But if you're on the platform like Kickstarter and you're able to reach a global audience, then people from that niche are able to fund it. So I think that's cool. I think we're headed in an interesting direction with all this.
Yeah, for sure. And like sometimes investors, and this is the other interesting thing, is like it's hard to predict. You're predicting the future with companies, right? Like sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. And I remember like during this program, a presenter was talking about Microsoft and like all the people who turned them down. But like little did they know that, Microsoft would turn into this huge company later.
Yeah, I think even Warren Buffett wasn't there a story on how Warren Buffett has gotten Bill Gates to come? Well, he came in and started pitching, and like the technology for people, this is gonna be huge, this is gonna change the world, and blah blah. And then Warren Buffett just passed on it because he didn't understand it. What he did understand was Coca-Cola, so he invested in Coca-Cola, and he didn't invest in Microsoft. So it's like, yeah, but at the same time, from his perspective, it kind of makes sense, right? If you're unaware of that market, like you may as well just stay clear of it, right? Just go with something that you
Limit to
understand.
the limit to what money can do. You've also got to have some knowledge. So
Hmm.
it's not like you've got lots of money, so you can just invest in all the good companies, because you've got to figure out which ones are going to be profitable as well. So it balances out that way.
For sure. Here's a fun quote. I think the US, like, the government or something, in like the 1800s, they were short on funds. Don't quote me on this, but they were trying to like save money somewhere, and the commissioner of the U.S. Office of Patents said everything that can be invented has been invented.
What?
So imagine if they closed down that that branch and no more inventions were made.
Whoa.
Like, how crazy would that be? This is like 1899.
Damn. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, I am sort of aware of the fact that like people are now. I mean, there's so many things and inventions and everything that's been invented already, right? So it feels like, oh, what else? What else do they need, right? Like, what new software? What new sort of concept? Like, what can we invent? I sort of heard that the inventors and people are now looking into science fiction stuff from like 100 years back in order to get new ideas onto like what to create, because there's so many things that's been like invented already. Again, I'm not sure of the fact like where this is coming from, but I've heard this, and again it just made sense to me. I'm like, oh, it's kind of it's kind of true. Because there was this dude who wrote about the so-called GPS nowadays. He was like in 1800s. He was like, oh, there's gonna be some way to like just monitor where everyone is on the Earth, and then there's also gonna be rockets which are gonna be shooting people up to the moon. Like rockets, no, not rockets, cannons. So like he sort of predicted that people are gonna land on the moon, but he thought we are gonna be shot by like cannons. But like we were shot by rockets and like landed on the moon with Apollo and all that. But like, yeah, it's kind of weird. Like
Not
people
too far
predict
off.
that. Yeah, it's not too far off, right? Like he predicted it, right?
When was this? Like, when was this prediction made?
I gotta look into who actually was this guy. Because it was in his book or something. One of those like science fiction novels from like back in the day. I have to look into it again. It's just for the conversation, to like a conversational piece, but like if someone was to actually quote this, like we'd have to look for sources, and thus this is more the inside scoop rather than, what is it, a scientific American or whatever. So I think we should slowly wrap up. And any closing remarks, Angela? I think I liked what you said. Debt is bad. It's very simple, but like very like straight to the
Not
point.
not all debt is bad. There's some good debts to get into, some not so great. I think you need to research that before you get into debt. Just know what you're doing.
Yeah, like it's risky, high risk, high reward, but like be cautious, I guess. That's the advice.
It really depends on what type of debt you're getting into, and like just doing your research and knowing what you're doing before doing so. But yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks for
guys.
stopping by. That was a cool conversation.
That was very interesting. Thank you.
And thank y'all, everybody, for listening. And see you later. See you next week.
You.